Hello everybody and welcome back to Operation Logistics, where we're currently going down a wee bit of a rabbit hole with this map mode system that we're setting up, but I think it will ultimately be a very good thing. So let's go ahead and see what we've got exactly going on right now. This is a new session for me, so if we come in here, we will see that our world hexes and our building hexes currently do not react. Ooh, that's intriguing. Okay, we don't have a hitbox here. We're gonna need one. So let's go ahead and put one up. And the question is, how can we make a hitbox that scales for the map mode toolbar? Well, that's a question, isn't it? So let's go ahead and add in a box collider, like that. And then the question is, how do we get it to scale like that? Well, we definitely want this to be 50 pixels, but not on the y-axis, on the x-axis. And then, for now, it would need to be 200. We'd position it, well, it's gonna... We can't really control the positioning of the box collider with the tools that we have, unfortunately. But we'll just do that for now. And I guess we'll have to put in the known issues for right now. If/when we add more map modes, we'll have to revisit the box collider behind it. Okay, and I just want to make sure that it is, in fact, behind it. So I'm just going to move it back, specifically 1 unit. I don't know that that's strictly necessary, but I'm going to do it regardless. So now, theoretically, if we run this, that should fix that small problem. And then if we come in here, you'll notice, yeah, it doesn't change these. And of course, the coverage map mode is not implemented. So, first things first, let's go into our biome hex manager here. And sub hex manager is building, so sub hex manager, populate biomes. Okay. So, here's the thing. I think everything is actually going to be a subset of the biome color. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then we're going to switch the map mode down here, and we'll modify it down here. Now, to do that, we may end up needing a new function in our biome hex near set overlay color. Public color 32 get overlay color. Because we might need to be able to access this color, right? So I think we're going to go ahead and do that. And we could return mf.mesh.colors32, just the first instance of it. Easy peasy. Okay, so with that in place, then the question becomes, well, how do we actually implement these map modes? Well, the easy way would be in our subhex manager. Of course, we're only doing this on the biome hex level right now. So, on the biome hex level, we'll have no real difference right now. So, we're going to need to switch different map mode types here. Subhexes i.biome equals biomehexes i.biome. That's an interesting thing to have there. I think we'll put that at the very beginning here. Make sure that that happens. So I don't think we actually need a map modes.default. Actually, we do. We do actually need one. So then let's go ahead and do a map modes.coverage and break, and a map modes.demand break, and a map modes.ownership break. So, then the question is, how do we go about implementing each of these? Well, default is already implemented. It's just going to leave it as it is. So that's easy enough. For coverage, it's going to be a little bit more in-depth, because we don't currently know with the waypoints, or rather with the routes, where our route is going, because a route is a list of vector 3s, right? It's not a list of int 3s. We could make a list of int 3s as we do it, and that might be the best way to do it. So public list int 3 path int 3 equals new list int 3. We'd have to remember to change it every single time, so essentially down here, we would have to do a manager.getNearestBuilding, blah blah blah. It's not ideal, but I think we're gonna have to do it. So then path int3 dot add, and we'd need to clear the path int3 up here as well. So path int3 dot clear. There we go. Path int3 dot add down here, manager dot get nearest building. Get nearest building. No, not entry point. Get nearest building. There we go. And then we're just going to pass in v3. And then we need to also pass what? Nothing. Why is it not liking this? Cannot convert from building to int3. Oh, right. Dot location. There we go. That'll solve that problem. And then we need to do the same thing down here for the retread path. So now we have a path of int3s that should be automatically updated. We don't necessarily know where the waypoints are in int3, but that's okay. That should save us some time. I mean, it's going to be a little bit slower when the path is being created, but that might be okay. I mean, if it's a super long path, it's going to be slow. So one thing we might want to do is put in a known issue here. Using the int3 conversion in the route generation, if it's a super long path, the get nearest building calls might be slow. Okay. So that's now known. And what else are we going to need here? I think that's pretty much it, because then we can just grab the buildings at this position, and then grab each of their adjacents and color them correctly. So let's go ahead and go into our subhex manager right here. So in the coverage map mode, we're then going to need what? A list of routes. Is that a thing that exists? I'm not convinced that it does. It would be in the business if it does exist. I don't think it does. So we'll go ahead and create one. Public list route routes equals new list of route. Okay, and then when we create a route, we will need to add it to this list. Oh, we already have one? We already have one. Okay. Good to know. Thank you, compiler. And then the other question is, do we actually add it? So in the building hex, in our map modes, let's see here, or rather interaction modes, create route, instantiate, and then business.onEnterEdit route mode. So we actually don't. So we could do like route equals instantiate dot get component route, like that, and then business dot routes dot add route, like that. Okay, so now we're actually populating our list of roots. That's good to know. And then in our subhex manager, then we need to iterate through every int3 in every root. So for int I equals 0, I is less than business. We don't have that. Hex manager dot business dot roots I plus plus dot roots dot count would help. What do we got going on here? We already have an I. Okay, we're gonna use J then for this. And this should be a semicolon, not a comma. Excellent. Okay, now we're fine. So we're going to iterate through every single root. And then we are going to say something along the lines of if hex manager dot business dot roots j dot, this is an int3, right? No, this is just the root dot path int3 dot contains. This is going to be very slow. Should this maybe be a hash set instead? Maybe. Subhexes I dot, this is a building hex. So how can we get from a building hex? It's a hex, it's got its hex index. So we'd need to create like a new int3 dot contains new int3, and this would need to be our selected world hex. We know we have a selected world hex, right? Because up here, I mean, if we have populate biomes, if that's called, then we definitely have a selected world hex. So hex manager dot selected world hex, hex manager dot selected subhex, and these are world hex and biome hex. Of course, we take an int here, so selected world hex dot hex index, selected subhex dot hex index, and then subhexes I. We could just pass in I, or we could do this. So, if it contains this, do we want to change this to a hash set? We're not using this in any other way right now, and I feel like we do. So public hash set int3. So because we're just checking to see if it contains. And that's going to be so much faster. So we'll go ahead and do that. Then back in the biome hex manager, which of course is still called the subhex manager, if it is contained on the root, then we want to color it, or actually we just want to leave it, pretty much. So we can just break out of this for loop at that point. Else if it's on the adjacent list, so if it's adjacent to this, then we want to do the same thing. So how are we going to go about doing that? Well, we need to get the adjacent list. So else if hex manager dot business, or actually we want to be in I'm not sure how exactly I want to grab this adjacency list. I think we're going to need to use the selected world hex and grab from the hex store? I'm not 100% certain. However, it is time to put a cut in here. I'm going to consider how I want to access this, and in the meantime, subscribe for more, and I will see you all next time.